fellow minis, I'm KairosTime and it's time to clash. There are currently 20 minis in the game and they all have 4 abilities. One at 0 upgrades and then they get 1 ability for every upgrade after that. For today's video, I'm going to show you all of their abilities in action, starting off with the 2 elixir minis, namely the Knight. Now the Knight's base ability is a super that gives him a block for a few seconds. Now block reduces incoming damage by 1, which is actually really great because a lot of minis only deal 1 damage, which means that the Knight takes 0 damage in that situation. Now his first star ability increases the duration of his block by 3 seconds, which actually makes him pretty tanky for only being a 2 elixir troop. This is why I like playing him with the Archer Queen. His second star ability forces enemies to attack the Knight, which is actually really useful if they can only deal 1 damage, because it just takes away all the damage off of his teammates. And his third star ability decreases the energy cost of his super from 8 to only 7 energy required to activate. Keep in mind that when his block is up, he doesn't take damage, which means that he doesn't charge his super off of taking hits. For this reason, this actually isn't my favorite 3-star upgrade. Next is the Barbarian. His base ability makes it so that each attack increases speed up to 10 times. Now, if he gets killed before it ramps up too much, it's not a big deal, but if he's left alone, he can deal some serious damage. And with his first star upgrade, this rage can stack infinitely, which makes the Barbarian actually very deadly. His second star ability adds a small chance that his attacks will deal 2 damage instead of just 1, and his third star ability will give him a +1 attack for a short time after he defeats an enemy. Now this can stack with his second star ability, making it possible for him to deal 3 damage with a single attack. And you can see that a fully upgraded Barbarian is actually really scary to deal with. Next is the Miner. His base ability is a clash ability, which means it activates at the start of a match. For him, he tunnels to the back of his opponent's board at the start, and if there's an enemy where he pops up, he'll actually push them out of the way. Now for his first star ability, it gives him backstab. That means that he deals 1 additional damage when attacking enemies from behind. Keep in mind that the position on the board doesn't actually matter. What matters is that they are facing away from him. His second upgrade gives him a huge speed bonus for a short time, but only after he kills an enemy because it's a boast ability. And at max level, he attacks all enemies in front of him in a arc pattern, which makes him really great at taking out multiple support units from behind. Up next is the Archer. Now her base ability makes it so that she attacks the target furthest away from her. This makes her a great mini against support minis because she's often able to take them out without taking damage herself. Now when she gets 1-star upgrade, her attacks hit an additional target, which is double the DPS and is honestly pretty awesome for a single upgrade. Her second upgrade gives her a boast ability, which is 1 additional attack for a short period of time after killing an enemy. This comes to 2 damage per attack, which is really great for a 2 elixir unit. And when she's fully upgraded, she has a clash ability, which gives her a huge attack speed increase for a short time at the start of the battle. This makes the Archer a great unit if the enemy is using a lot of support units like the Ice Wizard or the ranged healer. Now next is the Spear Goblin, who you're probably familiar with. His base ability is a clash ability, which means that he throws a huge spear forward, dealing damage on hit. And it's actually a lot of damage, which is why positioning the Spear Goblin is so important. Now with 1 upgrade, that spear gains 3 additional damage, which makes it even crazier. His second star ability gives him 1 attack for a short time after he takes out an enemy, which means that if he takes somebody out at the very beginning of the match with his spear, he's immediately getting an attack boost. And at max level, if he doesn't take out the enemy, they'll actually be stunned for 3 seconds, which is actually really good because people often put tanks in front of the support enemies at the start when they're facing a Spear Goblin. Next we have the Wizard. Now his base ability makes it so that his attacks damage enemies in an area. It only deals damage directly adjacent to the enemy that he hits, but this makes the Wizard actually pretty good at facing multiple enemies. His first upgrade makes it so that his attack spreads out even 1 tile further in all directions. And his second upgrade makes it so that he deals 2 bonus damage over 4 seconds to anybody that gets hit by his fireball, which is honestly insane if he can manage to hit multiple targets. As an added bonus, when he's fully maxed out, his attacks will prevent enemy healing for a short time. So you don't always want to upgrade the Wizard this way, but it is useful in some situations. First we had Fire, now we have the Ice Wizard, and for his base ability, he slows enemies. And that slow decreases their movement speed as well as their attack speed. And with 1 upgrade, that slow increases even more, which makes some minis kind of unbearable to watch. With his second upgrade, his slow hits all nearby enemies as well. And when he's fully maxed out, if he gets killed, then he will freeze nearby enemies for a short time, which can absolutely change the tide of battle. And our final 2 elixir mini is the Skeleton Guard. The Skeleton Guard has a super, which means that after he charges up some energy, he gains 6 shield for a short period of time. If that time runs out, the shield disappears. And with 1 upgrade, he gets an additional 6 shield for a total of 12 damage that he can soak up with that shield. His second star ability gives him a huge speed increase while his shield is active, which actually in turn helps him recharge up some of his shield. However, one thing that's interesting is that because this this is a super ability, while his shield is active, he cannot charge up his super. So while he's great at tanking damage while his shield is up, he's not so great when his shield is down. But his third star ability makes it so that his shield goes up at the start of the match, which makes him incredibly useful. All of a sudden, he goes from a little troop with a little HP, but can boost up his HP pretty quickly, to being actually somebody you want on the front lines at the start of the battle. Those are all the 2 elixir minis. Now let's cover all of the 3 elixir minis, and their abilities are even stronger. Now the giant skeleton has a KO ability. That means that when he dies, he drops a bomb in his place that deals 3 damage in an area around him. When he gets an upgrade, that bomb damage increases by 2 for a total of 5 damage whenever he dies. That's actually enough to knock out some minis in just 1 hit. His second upgrade makes it so that his bomb explodes in a much larger area, pretty much taking out the whole board. And if that's not enough, his third star ability stuns any enemies hit by it for 2 seconds. So they take 5 damage, they're stunned for 2 seconds. Meanwhile, your minis are just wailing down on them, and there's a really good chance this could actually get you a win. Up next is the Lumberjack, who has a super ability. When his super charges up, he tosses a potion to the closest ally to him, and that increases their speed. It also affects minis directly adjacent to the target, which means that if he's standing next to somebody, he gets the buff too. And his first star ability increases the splash area of his potion, meaning that it will increase the speed of even more friendly minis. His second star ability increases the duration of his rage potion. In fact, it lasts so long that he can just continually rage whoever he throws it on, and oftentimes that's exactly what happens until he dies. And with 3 stars, he throws that potion at the very beginning of the match, which gives him and his teammates a huge advantage. Next, we have the mini Pekka. Now his base ability makes it so that his attacks have a small chance to deal 2 times damage. He normally deals 2 damage, which is significant, but getting hit by 4 damage will really hurt you. Now with 1 upgrade, the chance for that to trigger is actually doubled, making it a lot more likely that he'll actually deal 4 damage per attack. And his second upgrade, it makes it so that his attacks gain 2 dissipate. That means that he actually removes energy from the target that he hits, making him a great counter against heroes like the monk or the shield maiden. Then we have his 3-star ability, which adds 1 attack for a short time after he defeats an enemy. And yes, that attack damage can be doubled, meaning that he can technically hit 6 damage per attack. Next is the Dark Goblin, who is low-key incredibly strong. Each attack he fires increases his attack speed, which can stack up to 10 times. And with 1 upgrade, he can actually stack infinitely, so that he could just, he becomes a machine gun. If he's left alone, you're gonna lose. Now with his second upgrade, his attack has a small chance to stun, which after he's built up, adds up to a big chance that he's gonna actually stun enemy minis. And when he's completely maxed out, he gets 1 additional attack for a short time after killing each enemy. He only deals 1 damage per attack normally, but if he's firing like a machine gun and he's dealing 2 damage per hit, very few minis are gonna be able to defend against that. Up next is the Bowler, who has a clash ability at the start of the match, and he rolls a giant rock which damages, stuns, and knocks back any enemies that get hit by it. This makes him a great counter against tanks because it often exposes other minis in front of them. His first star upgrade makes it so that his rock throw is actually a super, meaning that it can activate multiple times in a match. And his second upgrade increases the stun duration from minis that get hit by it by 3 seconds. If there are a lot of minis lined up and he happens to stun all of them, that can absolutely be the difference between winning and losing. And if that's not enough, when he's fully maxed out, his bowling ability gets an additional 2 damage, which just adds insult to injury. Next is the Healing Ranger. Now, her ability is pretty simple. She has a super, and once it charges up, she throws a magic spear that heals allies in its path for 4 HP. This heals herself and all allies that get hit by it. And when she gets an upgrade, that healing increases by 2 health, which just adds to her ability to keep her team alive. Her second upgrade makes it so that her spear, rather than just healing allies in 1 line, the width of it increases so that it can heal allies in 3 entire columns. And at max level, all allies that get hit by it will have their speed increase for a short time, which adds damage from your entire team. Increasing the attack speed of all of your allies is also going to make it so that they charge up their supers and activate their abilities more often as well. And that's exactly why this is such a good ability. Next is the Valkyrie, who at her base level does a spinning attack that damages surrounding enemies. This is pretty consistent with the Valkyrie across all Clash games. And because she's relatively tanky, this adds to a lot of DPS if the enemy team has a lot of minis on the front line. Her first star upgrade makes it so that hitting enemies actually increases her speed, and that can stack up to 10 times. But either way, she starts to spin pretty crazy and can deal a lot of damage to the enemy team. Her second star upgrade makes it so that when she kills an enemy, enemy, she will heal 6 HP over 3 seconds, which is going to keep her alive a lot more and allow her to increase her attack speed to become a really big threat. But what's even better is when she gets all the way maxed out, because that gives her attack speed a huge buff at the very start of the match. If she's on the front line and she's able to spin like crazy, heal herself, and speed up her own attack damage from the hits that she got at the start, the enemy's really going to regret allowing that Valkyrie to stay alive on the board. Those are all the 3 elixir minis. Now let's cover the 4 elixir minis, who are even stronger. First up is the Pekka, who at base level has a small chance to deal 2 times damage for an attack. Now the Pekka hits for 3 damage every hit, which means that its swings can deal 6 damage. That's at base level, which is crazy. And with just 1 upgrade, that bonus damage increases to 3 times, which means that it can hit for 9 damage. That's enough to one-shot the majority of the minis in the game. His 2nd star upgrade gives him a block ability for the short time at the very start of the match. And since the Pekka is one of the tankiest minis, this just makes him better on the front lines. And if he's already not tanky enough, his final star ability heals him 6 HP over 3 seconds every time he defeats an enemy. Next is the Magic Archer. Now at base level, his attacks have Pierce, which makes it so that he can hit every mini in the path of his arrow. His 1st star ability adds 1 damage to his attacks, and he already deals 2 damage per attack, which means that he can deal 3 damage to every mini that he hits. He's certainly not a fast attacker, but he still deals a lot of damage with every hit because of this, and it makes him great for attacking enemies that have shields or blocks. His 2nd star upgrade gives him 2 Dissipate with every attack, meaning once again that enemies lose energy when they are hit by it. This makes him a great counter against all minis that have a super, which is all of the heroes. Now at max level, his attacks gain Breaker, which means that he deals 3 times damage to shields. That means he can deal 9 damage to an enemy with a shield up, which is pretty devastating. Now I'm pretty sure this does not work against minis that have a block and only works against shields, which right now the only mini that has that is actually the Skeleton Guard, so you might want to keep that in mind. Next we have the Battle Healer. Now she has a super ability which allows her to heal nearby allies for 6 HP instantly. If you're able to keep her alive, she could be one of the strongest minis in the game if you play her right. And with 1 upgrade, she gets an additional 4 healing for a total of 10 healing every time she activates her super. With 2 upgrades, her healing affects a much larger area, which is going to be very helpful at those later matches. And when she's maxed out, herself and her allies that get healed also gain 1 energy, which is going to help them activate their supers a lot. This is only useful if she is next to teammates that have a super, so I don't think this is the best mini to get to 3 stars. However, I could see somebody building a deck specifically around it. Up next is the Mega Knight. Now his super allows him to slam the ground, which deals damage and stuns nearby enemies. It does take him a while to activate this ability, but if they get hit by it, it's pretty deadly. But what's even more deadly is when he gets an upgrade, and that adds an additional 2 seconds to that stun duration. If he's positioned right and he gets a lot of minis with that ability, that is plenty of time for your team to come back. His 2nd star upgrade makes his super affect a huge area, which is likely going to hit all of the enemy minis on the front line. And his 3rd star ability makes him push back enemies with his attacks. To be completely honest, I don't actually know how much I like this ability. It might be really good. It might just be kind of gimmicky and not really worth it. He is, after all, a 4 elixir mini, but it's kind of interesting to see in action. And finally, we have the Electro Wizard. His normal attacks only deal 1 damage, which isn't a lot. However, his super damages and stuns 2 enemies. The damage is good and the stun is good, and it can impact battle a lot. But when he gets upgraded once, that strikes up to 4 enemies. And because his super charges up so quickly, that's actually really huge. His 2nd star ability makes it so that his zap dissipates 4 energy from enemy supers, which can counter a ton of minis if they've specifically built a deck around supers. And when he's fully maxed out, his stun gets an additional 2 seconds added to the duration, which is just insane. He stuns literally 4 minis on the field for super long, deals damage to them. I mean, this is one mini that might actually be worth maxing out to 3 stars, even though he's 4 elixir. And there you have it, all 20 minis and all 4 of their abilities. After watching this video, I'm really curious to know which mini you want on your deck most and which upgrades you're looking forward to. If you guys haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you guys do so you don't miss any more Clash mini content. I've said it before, this channel's in danger. If I don't see the support on this channel that I'm hoping to, well, let's just say that I've got a lot of Brawl Stars fans that would appreciate my efforts over on that channel instead. You can also check out some more videos that are over right there. If you haven't seen them, I guarantee you'll enjoy them, especially if you made it this far into the video. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Clash Mini.